Hey guys, so today I wanted to do a kind of pregnancy video, kind of giving you guys some information about my last month of pregnancy, and then just kind of the process. Not too much information because I know that can be kind of TMI and I don't really want to go there, but so I'm going to just kind of tell you guys about my experience and whatnot. So anyways, I'm going to talk really fast just because there was a lot of stuff that kind of happened that I really want to tell you guys about, just so that you guys can kind of be in the loop, because this video may or may not be helpful to some of you that are watching that may be pregnant. But as you all know, that my original due date was December 21st, and my son wasn't born until the 29th of December, so he was several days late. He was very stubborn. So basically, I kind of expected to have him the week that I was due or on my due date, but you know, realistically that wasn't going to happen, and I was told that it wasn't. So if you're watching this and you're expecting, if it's your first child, they say that typically you will go past your due date. So when I ended up having my son, I was already 41 weeks and 1 day, and I was scheduled to be induced on the 29th at 5 a.m. anyways. So I actually started the laboring process the day before on the 28th. I woke up around 3 o'clock in the morning feeling like something wasn't right. Just my stomach felt kind of weird. Not so much like a stomach ache, but just it felt weird. Like I felt like something was happening, and I kind of had an idea that it was going to be, you know, the process of contractions and stuff. So around 4 o'clock in the morning, about an hour later, I really started feeling contractions. They were about 10 to 15 minutes apart, and the pain was tolerable. So when you start laboring, the first pains that you have, depending on each person is different really, but it could be painless or it could be really severe pain. From, you know, onset, starting of contractions, it's painful or not. So anyways, I started feeling pain around 4 o'clock in the morning, and I really felt uncomfortable, and I started jotting down the times and how long they lasted, each of my contractions, because I knew that once they hit 5 minutes apart, I needed to head to the hospital. So I basically took a nice warm shower and got in my most comfortable clothes and just kind of hung out at home with my family because they were here for the holidays, and we just kind of hung out, was watching, you know, some shows that kind of were things that kind of interest me, so I wasn't focusing so much on my pain, and I basically stayed home that entire day until late evening. I kind of remember around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the 28th, the pain was getting to the point where I couldn't deal with it. I know that when I was having contractions, I would get up from my couch and kind of hunch over a chair and start breathing in and out. The whole Lamaze breathing that you learn if you take the Lamaze class, I didn't do any of that breathing, just because in that moment you're not thinking about the rhythm of your breathing and the counting or whatever it is that they tell you. But anyways, so I'd kind of hunch over a chair and I would kind of do like a stomping motion. It's weird, but it kind of helped me out a little bit, kind of like hitting my foot on my tile floor. It would create a sensation on my foot that kind of distracted me from the pain of my contractions. So it was about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon that day that I was really feeling some pain that I couldn't deal with it, and it was getting closer and closer. So when they were about 5 minutes apart for about an hour, my husband called labor and delivery and asked what he should do or what I should do. And of course, they want to ask you questions because you're in labor and you're the one having a baby and, you know, getting ready for this, you know, change, and they want to ask you questions. So I was only able to get out my name, and then I had to hand over the phone to my husband, and I was literally on my hands and knees on the floor at that point because I couldn't take the pain. I just was not expecting it to go from tolerable to what seems like unbearable, what I thought was unbearable at that time. So he talked to a lady, and she said that 5 minutes apart, and she gave him some information that I just really don't remember because at the time I really didn't care. So we kind of hung out at the house for another 30 minutes, and I was in so much pain that he's like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and take you in. So I got dressed, and I went to the hospital, and that's when all the fun started. I got to the hospital, it must have been around 5 o'clock. I couldn't even eat dinner. We had to stop cooking dinner at home because I needed to go to the hospital. And so I got there, and of course, they're full, the labor and delivery area. They don't have any rooms because, of course, I understand that they had scheduled deliveries or inductions, C-sections, and then women who went into labor naturally that day anyway. So I kind of got to the hospital kind of late because they didn't have any rooms. So when I got there, they put me into this like little checkup room or whatever, and the nurse came in, and it seemed like an eternity before somebody came to check up on me. I'm like, I feel like I'm dying here, laying here on this bed, and still nobody shows up. So finally the lady came in, and I was only dilated between 1 and 2 centimeters dilated, and you needed to be a certain point. I think it was 4 centimeters what she said she wanted me to be before they admit me and give me a room. So understandably, okay, fine, whatever. So she told me I can either go home and come back in 2 hours, or I could hang out at the hospital and walk, up and down the stairs, down the hallways, and grab something to eat, because once I get my epidural, I will not be able to eat. So, of course, that is the worst thing you can tell somebody that's getting ready to have a baby and in so much pain. You have to go walk. Guess what? I had to go walk because there's nothing else I could do. And I live about 25 minutes from the hospital that I gave birth in, so there was no way that I was going to go home and then turn around and come back. So I walked, and I was timing my contractions, and, they were really painful. And so 2 hours went by, and I went back, and they put me in the same room. They checked me, and they told me I need to walk some more. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, I need to go walk at this point? I'm like, can I just get a room? I mean, really? I only feel like somebody's cutting me into pieces right now. So can I get a room? And unfortunately, the lady was like, no. So I had to walk some more. So I go walking a little bit more, and then I come back, and I'm hanging out in the hallway of the labor and delivery area waiting for, to hear some sort of news, whether, yes, they're going to take me and admit me, or what. So at this point, I'm feeling like I really want to choke somebody. And I'm almost on my hands and knees in the hallway. I couldn't even hold on to my mom very well without pulling her down with me on the floor, because the pain was so intense that the only thing I wanted to do was kind of curl up into a ball. So they kind of shouted at me from the nurse's station saying, we're going to go ahead and admit you, breathe through your contractions. They had cleaned up a room. And I'm like, why can't I get a room? I'm scheduled to be induced anyways in a few short hours. And, is 5 hours beforehand really going to hurt anybody? Not really. So, they finally went ahead and gave me a room, and I had to sign some papers for my epidural. So by the time my epidural got started, which really, they say it's really painful, but the pain that you will feel before you get an epidural doesn't even compare to the little pinch that you feel in the lower back of your spine. I mean, it really isn't. I was freaking out, and I was like, I'm going to do natural, because I hate needles. I'm terrified of them. And you probably think, what am I doing having a child? But at that point, I was just like, give me some medication, like something that's not Tylenol, because Tylenol is something that you can take while you're pregnant if you have headaches or, shoulder pains, anything like that. I'm like, I need something that's not Tylenol. Like, I need something really strong, okay? So I finally got my epidural, and I felt really nice. I wasn't feeling anything. I was able to sleep. I was able to relax. And in my room that I gave birth in, I had my mom, my sister, my aunt, and of course my husband was there. So I had a really good group of support, my whole support system, that I feel like without them I really wouldn't have been able to get through it. I know that I would have eventually, but I really felt like they really helped me in the time that I felt like I was going to die. So then, hours go by. They come and check me, and I'm, slowly making progress. Not making progress as quickly as they, expected me to, or as they wanted me to. So I'm just hanging out, and here comes, the 29th. Early in the morning, they come and check me, and nothing. I'm not able to eat because I have the epidural, so the only thing I had from the 28th through the 29th was water and ice. And I also had to get an antibiotic given to me, administered to me through my IV every 6 hours. Because something I didn't tell you guys before, I was positive for group B strep, which is some sort of infection that you can have, and you can pass it to the baby through the birth canal. And if you're tested positive, which if you do research on it like I did, a lot of women will have it, and you have no symptoms. Like, I felt perfectly normal besides, the constant fatigue and tiredness of, typical pregnancy symptoms that you will have towards the, the end of your 9th month. So nothing really major. I felt fine. I really did. So I had no idea that I have it, and the doctor said it's not something to worry about, but it could be life-threatening if the baby were to get it. So not only did I have my antibiotics, my IV, I had my epidural. I also had to get put on oxygen because the baby wasn't really breathing that well. So the 29th, they come and check me every 2 or 3 hours and still nothing. They change staff several times while I'm there and no change. So it was about 12 o'clock, I would say, on the 29th, and they checked me and said if I didn't make any sort of progress in the next couple hours, that they were going to start, I guess, thinking about other alternative methods of delivery, which translated to me as a C-section, which, knowing, if I would have known the ending, I would have preferred a C-section over, you know, having the natural birth. So anyways, they came and checked me 3 hours later. It must have been, well, closer to 3 o'clock that afternoon. And I guess, you know, I was still making progress. I was about 9 centimeters. And then closer to 4 o'clock is when I started pushing. So between 3 and 4, I kind of went from 9 centimeters to 10. And I was pushing for a while. They typically say, at least the nurses on staff and the doctor said that first-time moms typically push for about an hour. I was pushing for 3 hours. So it seems completely unreal, and I can't begin to describe how I felt. Like, to say that I was exhausted by the time he was actually out of my stomach was, it doesn't even describe how I felt. And on top of that, my epidural started wearing off because I had had it since the 28th around 10 o'clock at night, all through the night. And epidural, the new epidural these days, is supposed to only take away 70% of the pain. So you're going to feel something because they want you to know when you're having a contraction so that you feel that urge to kind of bear down and really push. And if you have something that completely makes you numb, you won't feel that, and they have to tell you when to push. So I had the awesome opportunity to have an epidural that failed, really, because it felt like to me the worst pain of my life. Around 4 o'clock, I'm like, they're telling me to push. The first couple pushes, I only felt like a little bit of pressure, but then it started really kicking into high gear. This pain, I just was begging somebody to put me out of my misery. Like, I was not expecting to feel anything. I'm like, why am I feeling something when I have a catheter in my back with medication that's supposed to be working? And prior to pushing, they had came in that day several times throughout the morning and afternoon to give me an extra, what they call a bolus of epidural medication into my catheter, straight into where you could feel the cooling liquid running through your back. And they had to do that a couple times, and it didn't work. I was still feeling, you know, some hip pains, some leg pains throughout, but nothing compared to what I was going to feel. So here it is, it's 4 o'clock on the 29th, and I'm pushing, and it's 5 o'clock and I'm pushing, and he's in the position face up, which is what they call the position OP, and basically facing up, which is the worst because it's harder for them to come through the birth canal. They try to turn him, but he wasn't budging or anything like that. So I was pushing, and that's probably why I was pushing for so long, and it's because the position that he was not in the right position to be delivered. So knowing that, I would have preferred a C-section at that point, but yet they still let me go another hour and whatever minutes pushing. And so I really was just beyond exhausted. Like, I don't even know how I made it through. If it wasn't for my family and my husband, I don't know what I would have done. So anyways, it's about 6:45, and you know, it's getting closer. He was born at 6:49, and so that's when they kind of pulled him out. My last push, they tell you to really bear down and just give it everything you've got. And I did. Somehow you find the energy and the courage and the strength and motivation to really just give the last good push that you know it's going to be the last one that you have to give. So I unfortunately didn't have the ending that I expected. I was prepared because, you know, when you're laying in bed, they put the towel over you, so they immediately put the baby on, you know, mom's belly, and that's when dad can go in and cut the umbilical cord and whatnot, and you can take pictures and video and stuff. I wasn't able to have that. I had been put on oxygen a couple hours prior to pushing and stuff like that because he wasn't breathing. So when he finally came out, I felt the doctor pulling him out, and then the next thing I know, to my right, my whole room just filled up with nurses and just this team of equipment just basically took over my room. That doesn't happen normally. So I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. Don't sneeze, don't sneeze. Is it gonna go? So this team of people came in, nurses, and then, you know, they have like this machine, like, I don't know what it's called, but it's the machine that they use to shock people and bring them back to life. And I could see that machine, but everybody was standing so that I couldn't see. I was only able to see like parts of the baby because I had a mirror, so I can see the whole process and how this whole thing, you know, takes place. And I was only able to see a head with dark hair, and that's it. And it happened so quickly. They took him out. I didn't get to see him. I didn't get to hold him. My husband didn't get to cut the umbilical cord because when he was born, unfortunately, he was very blue, and most babies are really bright pink and red, and they're screaming at the top of their lungs. Well, my son wasn't. He hadn't been breathing for about 10 minutes approximately. And so they put him on the table, and basically what my husband told me, he was just laying with his arms and legs spread wide open, not breathing. Basically, he looked like he was dead. And it was the most terrifying thing that I didn't get to see it, but my husband was able to see it. So that's something that he's going to have to live with and remember that when we talk about, you know, the day that I had my son and stuff like that. So it was very, very traumatic. It wasn't what I expected. It wasn't part of my birthing plan, obviously. So they finally, you know, do chest compressions, and they bring him back to life, and he's barely breathing. And then they take him away, and I don't get to see him. And, you know, I kept asking all the nurses, I'm like, where's my son? What's going on? Can somebody tell me? Nobody wanted to tell me. They couldn't tell me what was wrong with him. They didn't want to tell me where he was. And, you know, here I am. They're trying to clean me up, and, you know, the placenta has to come out and stuff like that. And, you know, this whole time I'm laying here wondering, where is my child? And so finally they told me what happened, and my husband had gone with the baby to this special kind of treatment room or whatever, where they are able to, you know, take care of babies. So the only time I was able to see him was when they brought him into this, you know how you see preemies that are born before they're supposed to, in this like clear incubator box, and he had all these tubes and machines put in. So machine was breathing for him. He had an IV. He was like hooked up to all these crazy things, and this team of people from the local children's hospital came in with him, and they let me see him for about 5 minutes, and they took him to a children's hospital where he was later then admitted to the NICU, which is where it's the neonatal intensive care unit, where preemies stay there for, you know, weeks, months, because they are not fully developed. They have some I guess some health problems, and so here is my full-term child of 41 weeks in the NICU. So he was there for about 6 days at the local children's hospital, and I was there every morning. I got up super early, and I was there until late at night visiting him. I got released on the 30th from the hospital so that I can go and be with my son at the other hospital. So basically what happened was that he stopped breathing sometime along the whole process of me pushing, probably towards the very end. And he also had meconium, which is when, you know, babies have their first bowel movement while they're still in your stomach, and that went into his lungs. So that could have been, I guess, part of the problem and the cause of why certain events happen, where he wasn't breathing, he was blue, he had no life to him, he had basically had to be brought back to life. And it's the scariest thing ever when, you know, you're so excited and emotional and ready for this moment, and then it happens to end the way mine did. And so thankfully, my little miracle, he's doing really well, and you guys will get to see him. I'm gonna go get him in a second. But yeah, he's doing really well. He's gained a lot of weight. He's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life, and I'm really blessed to have him in my life. And it's crazy how when you have a baby, that first day that you hold him, your whole life changes, your priorities change, everything just changes, and it's a wonderful change, and I am ready to embrace it, and I'm looking forward to the next several years that he will be living with me until he's 18 and he's like, I'm tired of you, Mom, and moves out or whatever, goes off to college. But I'm so excited, and I hope that some of this information was kind of helpful. I didn't go into details about every little thing just because some of that is a little bit too much and some of it is kind of private, and I hope that you guys can understand the aspect of some privacy. And I didn't go into any sort of details, just basic things, but basically the whole thing that I hope you guys take from this is that if you're expecting a baby, if it's your first, second, however many you have already prior to this birth, I guess just be prepared for anything, and just have faith that it's going to end and it's going to happen the way it's supposed to happen. I know that's kind of hard to just believe in that, but I put it in the hands of God, and I basically prayed, and He was able to give me a miracle, and everything happens for a reason. I don't understand the reason why this happened to my son, and it's kind of scary. It makes me want to think about when I want to have another one. It's like, you know, I don't want to go through this again. But if you have any questions or anything like that, leave them in the comment section below and I can answer them. If you want me to do a video with any other information, if you have any specific questions that you want me to address in a video, feel free to leave me that information below of your questions and stuff, and I will do my best to answer them. And I hope that you guys enjoy this, and I'm going to go get my little guy so you guys can see him. He's so precious, and thank you guys for watching and for the well wishes that you guys have left in comments and other videos and stuff. It really means a lot to me, and I'm really grateful to have support from you guys. So okay, so this is my little guy here, so you guys can see him. You say hi. This is Benjamin. That's his middle name. His first name is Israel, like his daddy, but this is him. And he's 6 weeks, and he's got a spit bubble. Let me wipe him down real quick. You want to say hi? Say hi, YouTube. Yeah, he's getting kind of fussy because it's time for him to eat. So I really wanted you guys to see him and meet my precious little miracle angel. So you'll be sure to see him in other videos. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.